17th Ave Family Live Podcast. Waiting on my man, Big Muzz, aka Joaquin. But meanwhile, while we wait for him, I want to discuss something, that comes up quite often. And it's basically where you hear individuals, I've heard it even talking to my brother today, where we talk about some of the young people and we say, how disrespectful they are to the elders and things of that nature. And then we follow up, many people follow up with, oh, it's a different time. They different. Of course, they're going to be different, not just because it's 2026, but because the parenting is different. The way that some single parents are, especially single women, I see it, and I'm sure you see it. And if you're one of them, then my advice to you, if you have sons in their teens or early 20s, and they are part of those individuals that are out there creating havoc in the community. You may not even know this. You may not even know that they're the ones that's doing it because they may come home and show a whole different side that you don't even see. But be mindful that how you raise your children, not just, we're talking about the guys now, but children, period, reflects on your parenting skills when they're not around you. For example, if you raise your sons and you don't let them know that life has what we call accountability, they have to be accountable for their actions, or there's consequences for things that they do, they're going to grow up with the entitlement type of thing where they feel that they can do whatever they want and not have to pay a price for it. And usually, when you have individuals like that are the ones who are wreaking havoc in the neighborhoods or in the community because they're doing things that they really think is okay. They really think these things are okay because they haven't been taught that when they do certain things and they're not chastised or made aware that these things are unhealthy for the community, unhealthy for the family, they're going to continue to do it. It's like if you tell somebody the stove is hot and they touch it, once they see it's hot, they know not to touch it. But if you tell somebody the stove is hot and you never let them touch it, they're going to continuously try to touch that stove because they're not going to believe that stove is hot. And this is what is happening to a lot of the young males out there who are wreaking havoc. And these are the only ones that I'm talking about. I'm talking about the ones that are out there wreaking havoc in the neighborhoods where some adults are even fearful or afraid to even approach these individuals because they don't know what the response is going to be. And this is why I'm talking to the single mothers here. If you're a single mother, if you meet a man, try to meet a man that you know want to have some discipline, want to discipline, and by disciplining, I don't mean they have to put their hands on your child. By disciplining, they get to talk to your child and let your sons know that certain things go and certain things don't go. This is, you see, this 17th Ave apparel thing. It's really 17th Ave family, and it's about individuals who grew up in a time where there was consequences for your actions, where when you did something, you had to be held accountable. It wasn't about just doing whatever you want, how you want, and just walk away and then your mother or whoever comes and rescue you. It wasn't about that. This is something that life itself, whether your parent or you ladies as mothers chastise your sons or correct your sons for unhealthy dysfunctional behavior, life is going to do it eventually. There's a lot of mothers out there sad right now because their sons, something, their sons are in prison, you know, or worse. And they had no idea what their sons was doing. They had no idea their sons was out there being gangsters. And consequences came back and their sons, unfortunately didn't make it through those consequences. So I'm saying this wholeheartedly for individuals, especially single mothers and fathers. If you're not in the son's life, do your best to try to get in the son's life as well as your daughters and try to be there and do what you can to put them on a straight path because there's no reason if you're healthy and your children are healthy that you're unable to find a way to co-parent. It's too much chaos behind parent, women having to raise sons alone, and and men are making more babies. Some of the men are making more babies and they're not raising them. This we can no longer continue to tolerate. We have to, and it's necessary for us to step up to the plate and do what we can as parents, as men, to be there for our sons and our daughters, because the daughters need you as well. But I'm sticking to the sons right now because the sons are the ones who have people afraid to come out. Some people are afraid to even approach them. And, and I even had to check my grandson. I had to check my grandson because he started talking to me reckless. Started talking to me like he talked to his friends. Yo nigga, no, yo nigga, yo gang, yo nigga, yo gang. And I had to correct him. And that comes from him getting away with certain things when it comes to him and his mom, you know? And I speak to her, and you can't make anybody do anything. Once they're grown, you can't make them. All you can do is suggest and give advice. However, the jail cells are waiting. The jail cells are waiting for your sons. If you don't correct them, the jail cells will. And if you don't correct them, the streets will. So I'm basically pleading with you to do what you can. Ask for help. If you got brothers and uncles, ask them for help too. Everybody needs to pitch in and get these boys under wrap. Get these boys to realize, these young men to realize that going around doing un, unhealthy things, doing things that create fear in the neighborhood, doing things that create chaos in the neighborhood is no good for anybody. Yeah, they may make a few dollars out of it, or they may get a little street fame. However, it comes with a price. All of these behaviors come with a price. Once you grow up and you realize that unhealthy behaviors create unhealthy results or unwanted results or unhelpful behaviors create unhelpful results. And a lot of times, from my experience, it comes from dysfunction in the homes. Not all the time, because we know there's exceptions to every rule. However, when it's dysfunction, where individuals are, as I said, not being held accountable, it's even where when I grew up, my mom made sure I had things to do. Even if it wasn't sports, I had to do things in the house. Clean the bathroom, clean down the stairs, clean the basement, clean the backyard. These are things that as mothers, as single mothers, you buying your sons clothes, you buying them shoes, you buying them, whatever they want. However, you're not making them earn what you're buying them. So in their mind, The world works that way. In their mind, they can get something for nothing. This is why you have a lot of young individuals out here robbing. I mean, and you have young individuals robbing and taking other people's lives because they've been raised with getting something for nothing, not having to put out anything, but receiving gifts, receiving brand new sneakers, games that they want, anything that they want, they've been receiving from sometimes both parents, but a lot of times I find that it comes from single mothers and single mothers that be busy working. They want to try to let their sons know that they care, let their sons know that they love them. However, there's other ways to show you love your sons without giving them things that they don't deserve. This is something that is hurting the community. That you have too many sons out here with believing there's no no justice for their behavior. They can do whatever they please to whoever they please. They can talk to individuals the way they talk to. And then on the other hand, they want respect. These individuals want respect from people that they don't even give respect. So, how do we, as a community, handle this? How do we deal with this type of behavior as a community? Because I hear too often that that's just the way it is. No, it's the way it is because people are not doing what they can to try to make it become different. You know, growing up, and don't say times have changed because a lot of us read books and religious books that come from over 1,000 years or hundreds of years ago for information. So if we can read books that gives us information from hundreds or thousands of years, then we can pull from 10, 20, 30 years and utilize behavior and start reacting that, redistributing that behavior towards the individuals, because this is what we are striving to do when it comes to the 17th Ave family. 17th Ave family is not just about an exclusive block. It's about being able to utilize a structure to be emulated by other neighborhoods. We grew up in a structure where it was about protecting the neighborhood, where it was about protecting the neighbors, where it was about uh, looking out for each other, where it was about respecting each other. No, everybody didn't do it, but the majority did. So if the majority did it, then you can you can enact that. You can change that. You can make something occur from that. When it comes to structure, I truly believe that we are not, as a community, doing all we can to change the conditions. I think far too often we are just saying, you know, as I said earlier, that's just the way it is. And that can no longer be tolerated because it's we have, you know, a lot of good young people out there that's doing what they need to do, that's going to school, listening to their parents. For those individuals, kudos. Now, for the others, we it's necessary for us to come up with a plan that we can implement that can make a difference. Now, the other thing is, in my opinion, we can no longer continue to expect the Democrats or the Republicans to fix situations that are community oriented. When it takes a community to work these things out, when it takes a community, and community cannot be spelt without unity. So it takes for us to unify as a human family, and start really doing what we can to make life better for everyone. I know you don't hear about people talking about life better for everyone. You may want to hear about relationships or, you know, some other stuff that I don't feel important. And maybe you don't feel what I'm talking about is important. However, I feel it's important because it's something that affects the future, affects how the next generation is going to grow up. Parenting is a key component to the neighborhoods, the neighbors, what goes on. There was a saying when I was growing up, what goes on in the house stays in the house. And I don't believe that's necessarily true because if you have an angry child in the house, then that anger, 9 out of 10 times, is going to come outside. It's going to come out to the community. It's going to come out in other ways. So I urge you all to find some alternatives when it comes to dealing with teen young men, t- those in their 20s. Is just look, if you're not holding them accountable, do so. Find a way to get them to be have accountability for their actions and let them know that life doesn't work with something for nothing. Everything that you get costs something. If you go to work, you go to work because what? Because you want to get paid. If you don't go to work, you don't get paid. You go to school because you go for grades. If you don't do the proper work, you're not going to get the proper grades. So if if you don't eat, you're going to be hungry. But if you don't have money, you can't get anything to eat. Life works with you do a thing to receive a thing. Quid pro quo, what they say. And what we're dealing with as a community, also as a nation. I want to switch gears. I want to switch gears because we're halfway through. I want to switch gears about something when it comes to uh, ethnicity. I want to switch gears when it comes to that. There's a lot of individuals. I myself was included in that. And I do my best now to try to stay away from that. Don't you know that we, as a country, a land of people have been lied to when it comes to black and white, when it comes to black people versus white people? Who do you think benefits when we go black and white people? There's a elite group of people who benefits from black and white. And I want you to I want to be clear with you all that it's not all people who are considered white by skin complexion benefit from it. There are people who look like me benefit from black and white, benefit from what we call racism, what we call what you white superiority, white supremacy. There are people who benefit off of that because what it does is it sets a mindset for people to mistreat other people based on skin complexion. And really, when that's not even the true issue for those who are in a hierarchy, they want to keep control over both sets of people. And the way to do that is to make one people feel that they are above the other people just simply because of their skin complexion. Remember, white and black is nothing more than colors. nothing more than a description to describe the complexion of people. That's all it is. It's not an ethnicity, it's not a nationality. It's just a description of how you describe a people. And many people say they want to get rid of racism. However, the best way to get rid of racism is to start acknowledging yourselves as one, a human family, two, a nationality, uh, identifying yourself to a land that has a constitution that identify you as a person from that land. All people from all over the world have a land that identifies them by a constitution, which is the land's birth certificate. However, when it comes to us here who call ourselves black, why don't we call ourselves American? Why do many of us call ourselves African American, um, Black American? Why do we do this? This is a conditioning. This is a mind conditioning to keep us in an inferior situation. Don't you know that we come from a people, not just what we were told and taught in grammar school and high school, that our ancestors were brought over here on slave ships. No, prior to being brought over here, and I'm not saying that some of our ancestors wasn't. What I'm saying is the entire so-called black population ancestors were not brought here on slave ships. There were ancestors who were here. They were here in the year 711. They were here and they went by the name of Blackamoors. Now, being a Blackamoor, we kept black, but we somehow got rid of the Moor. And when we got rid of the Moor, it we settled for less. As Blackamoors, the people that we come from had more rights. They had rights to be the sovereign of the land, meaning that we didn't have to abide by the laws written by America. We had our own laws, and America eventually came up with their own laws. So we have some individuals who are actually going back to that way of life, going back to the way where the Blackamoors, aka Moors, aka Moroccans, are reestablishing government. We as a people talk about we don't have, they took our voting rights away, and we we would like to have them back. How do you think we get those voting rights back when we're asking some other ethnicity to allow us to vote for their government? And it's not racist to take care of the people that you're from, just like it's not racist to take care of your family. So we've been miseducated when it comes to people taking care of them, people taking care of the people that they belong to, the people that they share a culture with. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with taking care of the people that you share a culture with. However, the things that we can consider wrong is when you try to shut out another culture simply because they're not a part of your culture. This world, this land is for all human beings. And some of us rise to a higher level where we become like God-like beings, where we strive to do everything that the Creator has instilled in us, and we increase our consciousness to a level where we embrace everybody equally. This is what you do once you start evolving past just skin complexion or just nationality. Now, don't get me wrong, nationality plays a major part because of what type of world we're living in. You see how America goes to other countries and can start a war because America feels that another country shouldn't have a nuclear bomb. What gives America the right to determine whether another country should have a nuclear bomb? What makes America so upright and so righteous that they can say who should have a bomb or not? And don't get me wrong, I don't believe it's necessary to for anybody to have a bomb, let alone, America. When it comes to what are bombs for? Bombs are for destruction. So you're not creating a bomb to make peace. You're creating a bomb for destruction or to have the ability to actually plant fear in someone. So when you're doing that, that's not something that I would consider to be looked upon as a, a people who are doing right by the world. Many individuals, many of you out there probably watching would probably say we at war. Me myself, I say America's at war because I didn't vote for that war, and I don't think any of you voted for a war either. So when we are told that we need to vote to make a difference, why aren't we able to vote to stop the wars? Why aren't we able to vote to change ingredients that are being put in our foods? Why aren't we able to vote to lower the taxes? So are our votes really being counted? Do our votes really matter in the real scheme of things? Or are we just being told that to keep being used as puppets while the rich get richer, the poor get poorer, and the middle class sinks down to the poor? So, which is it? It's time, in my opinion, for us to unite as a culture and for us to start uniting with other cultures. However, before we can completely, and I'm not saying that there's not, a great deal of us uniting. I just would like to see more of us united. I would like to see less funerals because of some young people getting murdered behind some nonsense. And I would like to see more unified individuals and more businesses being open, and more of us employing us. That's what I would like to see. What do you think? So until next week, I thank you for your time. Respect yourself and others. And remember, love is more than a word. Love don't only need to be said, love also needs to be shown. So to next week, I leave you all with peace.